Welcome to today's program. I'm Dr. Arthur Weathersby, and on this show, we speak directly to men about faith, purpose, accountability, and becoming the man God has called us to be. Today's guest for us is none other than Dr. Lynn Lopez. We're going to call him just Dr. Lynn. He has spent over 25 years helping people develop stronger habits, healthier thinking, and deeper spiritual discipline through years of working with individuals and families. He recognized that challenges just don't show up physically. They often begin in the mind and spirit. I'm going to bring him on. I'm going to let him tell more about himself than what I just did. Come on, Dr. Lynn. Welcome
Hey,
to the
hey,
program,
Doc,
sir.
how are you?
I'm doing
Thank you for
extremely
that
well. How
nice
about you?
introduction. I
Oh,
am
I do the
doing well.
best that I
Thank you
can.
for that nice introduction.
I do the best I can. So why don't you tell the people the rest of what I didn't tell them?
I've been for the last 25 years, like you said, I've been helping people learn how to eat right and train smart. It's been, my background is a strength coach, nutritionist, a chiropractic sports physician. And over those years, just, working with patients, I'm sure you become more, I don't want to say intimate, but you just become friends. They become friends of yours in a sense, and they start sharing more and more. And you can just see that I know they're here to talk to me about health and fitness, but as they start sharing more about their life, I can see there's some struggles going on, maybe with their mental outlook, or maybe just their spiritual walk isn't there. And I'm a big believer that, I'm sure you guys as well, that we are body, mind, and spirit. And I just believe we need all three of them, like in harmony. And if you to neglect one, is not very helpful.
That's very interesting, Dr. Lynn. I just completed a master's program in May with Christ Central University, USA, for Master Divinity in Christian Transformational Psychotherapy, dealing with exactly what you just said, the whole person. So this is right in alignment with that. I'll tell you what we're going to do. Dr. Lynn, welcome to the show, and we're going to get started. We got some questions for you, sir. You ready?
Bring them.
Oh, I like that attitude. Come on. What led you to realize that mindset and spiritual habits were just as important as any other area of life?
I guess for me, the many times I've fallen and gotten back up and realized that it took me a while that, hey, what was I missing and everything? I mean, I grew up I wasn't a good athlete, but I grew up as an athlete. And just, that thing, if you want to be good, you go out there and practice, blood and guts go out there. And I think you kind of need the same mentality or same aspect in the other areas of your life and your growth and your career and your spiritual walk and everything, your relationships. You have to, it's okay to fall down. I mean, we're all going to fall down, but it's whether you get up or not. And, and then you have to be able to look back and say, hey, why did I fall down? Where am I short? Where are my shortcomings? Can I address those so I don't fall down so often again?
That's all about growth, too.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, sir. We're doing real good right here. I tell you, you emphasize renewing the mind. Why do so many Christian men struggle in this area?
That's a really good question. I don't know why they struggle with it, but I know we do. And part of me says because just like it says, we've always learned because Scripture teaches, a man is as a man thinketh, and he always tells us, think about what does it say on the back placard over here? Focus on the things that are the good things, the things that are right, the things that are beneficial for you in the kingdom. Well, it's so easy. Or it must have been a few years ago. I heard some speaker one time. He was a doctor, and he was talking about the human mind that we process about 50,000 thoughts a day. And I
Mhm.
never thought about that because I'm, being in the health and fitness industry, I'm thinking about, what do you consume as far as calories in, right? Fat grams and protein. But he's saying that we process about 50,000 thoughts a day. Now, I thought that was amazing enough. But the part that was really more fascinating to me was that of those 50,000 thoughts, about 80% of our thoughts are from yesterday, and that wasn't enough for me. He even said that of those 80% of your thoughts that you have from yesterday, 90% of your thoughts today are the negative worrisome thoughts. They're not positive thoughts. So we have a tendency to just kind of rehash. And I think what I like to tell people is just like this: think of it, if you're a restaurant owner or if you're on social media, you get 10 good comments and everything. It's the one guy that tells you stink, just really just sits in your, sits in your side, and it really just, and so we tend to think of all the difficulties. And I know there's been a great phrase they talk about, you got to change that stinking thinking and everything. And so it's true. You have to change that thinking. And I'll share. I'm sure we've all heard the book, The Power of Positive Thinking. It came out
Mhm.
like 50 years ago, right? And in
Mhm.
fact, one of the first books I read for my own personal growth. And to share a little bit more about it, I got maybe in first 100 pages in there, and I kind of tossed the book away. I liked what it was saying, but there was a little too much God in there. And I've gone full circle in my walk and everything. And, so when I picked it up again, 10, 15 years later, I really draw close to it from then on. But it was that, we are what we think. And it's so easy to think of, even though you could be just spiritually filled sometime. And I've seen patients like that, but yet they allow that when they're not conscious about it, they just kind of just harbor and think about just some of the headaches, the difficulties, the challenges of life. And so when I created 5 steps a day, we're just trying to make sure that we start doing a little bit more of the positive thing, both physically, mentally, spiritually, to move us this direction. And so that's kind of how, my belief. It takes small steps to get where you want to go. But like, what's the old phrase? The journey of 1,000 miles begins with that first step. And a lot of times people are just kind of hesitant to take that first step.
Well, Dr. Lynn, it's ironic because I just did a men's seminar this past Saturday titled "Would You Be Made Whole?" And one of the things that I identified is that men have been taught erroneously about their emotions and how they need to retard them and not talk about them. That's why it's difficult for men to deal with this issue because they have been told if I talk about stuff like this, it's a sign of weakness to my manhood.
Yeah, I can see that. But yeah, it really is. And you have to open up and to clean out some of those negative thoughts and everything and realize that we all have frailties. We all have weaknesses and fears. Yeah, I'm going to give you a great example. I don't know if you're a baseball player or not, but yeah, I'm a big baseball fan, football fan, sports guy. And if you saw the World Series, right? Who won the World Series? The Dodgers. It wasn't the
Dodgers.
Astros or the Texas Rangers, but that's okay for this year. But but it was great if you saw all 7 games. When they won in the 11th inning of Game 7, they were interviewing Mookie Wilson. And I don't know if you saw that or not, but when A Rod and Big Poppy were interviewing him, they asked him, "Hey, in the ninth inning, what did you think before you got up there?" Now, for those who may not know who Mookie Wilson is, he's like one of the greats right in this generation because
Mhm.
I mean, how often does somebody put all-star outfielder then comes in and plays probably the most challenging position, shortstop,
That's
and
right.
becomes
Yeah.
another all-star? I mean, that's just enough right there. But
Yeah.
here's the remarkable thing that I think we can relate to. A Rod was asking him, "How did you feel? In the 11th inning, there was 2 outs and everything." And Mookie said something that I would say. "What were you thinking about when there was 2 outs?" He goes, "Oh, I hope it doesn't. They don't hit it to me." I mean, that's what I would be saying, right? But he said that. But then he goes, "Oh, really?" They go, "Really?" I go, "Well, yeah." Then I said, "Oh, no, no, be nasty, be nasty." That was his mental cue to realize that we're all going to have these negative, fearful words. Don't hit it to me. Even the great Mookie Wilson. But you have to sit here and step up and whatever verbiage you want to create for yourself to help you be stronger. And whether it's a long hair like Samson had, or just a phrase that you believe in, or like Mr. Miyagi from Karate Kid, he just claps his hand like this. That was his anchoring system to make him know this is what he's going to do. And so, just like the great Mookie Betts, he has a key phrase to say, "Hey, this is a scary time, man. I don't want the ball hit to me." But he had a key thing that just helped him to move that mental outlook. That hey, his phrase would be nasty, which is kind of a good. If you're a sports guy and a guy, you know what it means.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to do two things. You said something there about one of the things that people have to understand is that you're human. You're going to have these human frailties, and you have to be willing to admit that in order for you to have strength. Now, you said, I'm glad you correct yourself. Is that shortstop? His name is Mookie Betts.
I said Mookie Wilson.
Yeah, that's way back in the New York
Yeah.
Mets days, back in like '69 or something.
Hey, I told you, man. I'm having my senior moment there. But yeah, Mookie Betts.
Well,
I'm sorry, Mookie. Yeah.
that's all right. I understand. I mean, I'm older than you. I think I'm 73, and I have them. They come and it goes. I'm just saying.
Okay. Yeah, you got me by a few years.
All right, so we're gonna go to that next question. That was real good, Doc.
Thank you for
You
correcting me on that. I think I've
well,
done that before.
when I heard you say Betts, I said Mookie Wilson. That's going way back.
Hey, yeah, he was a New York boy. Didn't Mookie? He started in Kansas City. Okay, let's get off the
Yeah,
sports.
yes, sir. All right, here we go. How do a man? Oh, we're in mindset and faith segment. How do a man's thoughts shape his identity and his walk with God?
Well, it's kind of what you learn, I guess, from home. And again, when you have a father there that can help you see this is the thing that you're supposed to be taking care of. This is the thing you're supposed to be the protector, breadwinner. But you don't have to always be the main breadwinner because right now there's so many people that are joint. You know, they're both working and stuff like that. But just what you feed your mind. We all have those worries and fears, and that's why one of the steps is the letter T is think. Are you thinking better today? It's so easy to wake up and just tell yourself, oh, it's going to be a bad day. I don't feel good. I don't feel great. But as the book, the power of positive thinking, when he was saying, you don't have to repeat a magic phrase a bazillion times, but if you 1 or 2 minutes here, 1 or 2 minutes here, 1 or 2 minutes throughout the day, just remind yourself. And I like to share it this way, Doc, because I know I've had somebody tell me, so you're telling me, Doc, if I just think I'm great, I'm going to be great, And I go, well, let me say it this way, and I'm going to use something that my mother taught me. Let me say it this way: for that 1 or 2 minutes that you tell yourself that you can do it, I feel great, I'm a winner, whatever phraseology that fits you. But if you say it for 1 or 2 minutes here in your mind, another 2 minutes here, there, another minute here throughout the day, that's 1 or 2 minutes. You're not kicking yourself in the rear, telling yourself you can't do it.
That's
And
right.
as my mother would say, it's just a drop in the bucket. And I don't, like my mom would say, a drop in the bucket, you put another drop on that carpet, and you're going to make a stand. I'm going to get to you for that and everything. So it's just that little things, and it takes little things to start adding up.
That's right. Well, it's a building. You have to. It's like building blocks. You have to start from somewhere, and that's the best place to go. All right. Well, good. Well said, Doc. Now
Thank you.
let's go to this next question. Let's talk about strengthening spiritual muscles. What does that look like practically for men?
Okay, let me use my analogy here. When I was, as I told you, I kind of went through my walk and everything, and I've gone full circle in it. And being in the health and fitness guy, I used to always find a way to go exercise somehow, either go run, lift weights. I could always get into my 24-hour schedule. When I came to Christ again, and I really wanted to get into the Word, and I was reading on a regular basis, I want to read every day, but I could always find an excuse not to read. Oh, I got something else got to do. I got to go work out. I got to go meet someone. And by the time I got home at the end of the day, I was too tired. I couldn't, I'd fall asleep. But then I realized back then, hey, there's a thing. There's a thing that some of us may remember, an AM radio back in the, we're talking about the 80s. You can go punch one of the buttons on there, and hey, you could hear a pastor out there talking. And so there's different ways you can strengthen your physical muscles, right? You can lift weights, you can run, jog, bike, dance, any of that kind of stuff. Well, there's more than one way to strengthen your walk with Him. Yes, reading was probably the best way of doing it, but when you can't read, or there's other opportunities to strengthen your muscles on a daily basis. Maybe you listen to a podcast, right? Maybe you fellowship with others that day. Maybe you served or attended service. Maybe it was just good Christian music that just really touched your soul. And I really love that one, and it's been very beneficial for me because I can't tell you, I can't ever repeat any of the words of the song, but I'll, for that 10, 15 seconds, I might hear a phrase in there that really grabs hold of me. And it just, and if it's doing it to me, because I don't think I'm that unique. Other people, it has to resonate with them somehow, some way. So when I say, are you strengthening your spiritual muscles on a regular basis? Did you do it today? We eat every day, right? We sleep every day. We think every day. Is there a way for you to strengthen your spiritual muscles more and more on a daily basis? And if you do, that's what we say, we shade in that little footstep. And so it doesn't have to be reading every day. And I know there's lots of great programs that, here's a 365-day reading program. And that's a tough challenge for, in my opinion, anybody. But hey, here's a way that I can still connect with him. And maybe I'm just going to listen to music today because I have an early flight. And so that, that's me. I have an early flight and everything. I don't have time to read and everything. And so I have to but on the drive to the airport, while I'm walking in, I got my headphones on, I'm listening to a podcast, I'm reading. So that's what I'm talking about, strengthening your spiritual muscles. I mean, I know, being a health guy, if I only exercise my physical body once a week, once a month, twice a year, how physically strong could I be? And so when you look at it from that perspective, and hopefully those who are listening right now, if they think about it, they go, yeah, how strong can my spiritual muscles be? Because those days are going to come. Maybe they haven't hit some of us yet, to where there's something really challenging in your life that you need the strength of your spiritual muscles to hold you, support you, and that's where it comes by reading, listening, fellowship. And so that's all I'm trying to say with 5 steps. Are you doing something regular to help strengthen your spiritual muscle? Because, and I like to always say, whether the spiritual muscle you're strengthening, is that going to help you for tomorrow, or maybe it's going to be helping your friend who looks out to you, and you're able to provide that strength for them. And who knows? I don't know how he works. I'm not in on the details, but I know he does his work very well.
Well, for the Allen Iversons of the world, that means practice. And then,
Yeah.
Doc, you said something else about music. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to suggest you tune into www.kingdompurposetv.com at 10 p.m. Central Standard Time, and you can hear music and talk with me. You will get strengthened.
All right.
All right, let's move on to that next question. Now, let's talk. You said habits and attitude are like our DNA. Oh, this is gonna be good. How does attitude determine a man's direction?
Well, as I said, I believe, everybody's talking about how can you improve your habits and attitude, right? And some people say, it takes 21 days to change your habit, or 90 days to change the habit. I just believe your habits and attitude are like they're your genetic code. It's your DNA. We know that if you trace your DNA, you can kind of see where you came from, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
if you trace your habits and attitude, you may see that the level of achievement and accomplishments you've had, you can see that maybe your habits and attitude were very well, were very strong, right? But by the same token, maybe some of the challenges and difficulties that you've had could be traced back to maybe your habits weren't as good as they were in the past. Maybe you were watching too many cat videos, or maybe you were watching too many ball games, or too many this or that. And so your habits and attitude really, they are your genetic code of who you are and who you become. Question is, what are you doing to improve your habits? Do you need to improve your habits and attitude? And for a lot of people, I think we do.
Absolutely. Well, you said it earlier about the negativity that we have a tendency to flow into. That
Right.
right there will determine your direction. If you're negative thinking, you ain't gonna do anything that you need to be doing to correct anything.
Right, right. And I like to tell people, we're talking about we mentioned it a minute ago about that stinking thinking, and so I always people that you have to remind yourself. People, self talk. well, I don't. I got to talk to myself, guys. People exercise by themselves. They dine by themselves. They vacation by themselves. So you can talk to yourself. It might feel a little awkward to begin with, but it's like having a coach come in your ear and tell you something. The only advantage of self-talk is that you can do it 24/7. And
Mm,
so what I've seen is that when you think about it, I always ask somebody, how long before when your alarm goes off or when you wake up, when your feet hit the ground and you're walking, how long did it take before you remind yourself, I'm going to have a good day, I'm
mhm,
strong, I'm a winner, I'm the best, or whatever phraseology, I'm nasty, like Mookie would say, whatever phraseology you're going to say to kind of pump yourself up for your today's day. Is it after you go to after your feet hit the ground, you go to the restroom, after you take a shower, after you have breakfast, after you take the dogs to the ball, after you get the kids to school, after you get to work? How long did it take? And so all we're trying to say is, guys, when you wake up in the morning, if you can just take it before grabbing the phone or turning the TV on, because that's all distraction, that's all noise to
mhm.
pull you this way and that way.
That's
With
right.
silence, can you sit here and, hey, I'm going to have a great day today, I feel good, I'm a winner, whatever phraseology, you have to encourage yourself. And to go back to sports and Mookie Wilson, I guess, not Mookie Betts. But I always joke. Imagine if it is the ninth inning and there's two outs, and guess who comes up to bat, right? Not me. I always say, because I made the last out in the last inning. But the person that comes up, and you're thinking, oh no, they picked Johnny over there. Go, he's the worst player and everything. You're not going to tell him that. You're going to
No.
feed him the words of encouragement to say, you can do this. You're going to set. You can do this. You're a winner. We're going to win this game. We're going to go on to the next. Whatever you're going to tell him, but you're going to feed him words of wisdom. And so every day, whether you walk out that door in the morning, or when your feet hit the ground, or when you get on that ball field, or when you step up to the microphone, or when you get in front of the audience, you have to have that attitude that I can do this. This is good. I'm a winner. I'm the best. Whatever self-talk that you feel comfortable with, but you have to feed yourself those words of wisdom, those words of confidence. And so this is, I think, so often it's easy for us to let those negative thoughts overtake us.
Absolutely. I got three hashtag phrases that I use this for myself and other people. First, I started out with we do the thing in the Lord. Then I went to I do the thing in the Lord. And now the last one is rise to the occasion, do the thing in the Lord. All of that comes from I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me.
Right, right.
All right, we're going to talk about breaking cycles, Doc. We ready. We done got there already with that last question. What vicious cycles do you see men repeating that keep getting them stuck?
It's whether or not recognizing where they're at, but it is, we are what we feed ourselves. If you feed yourself junky food, and I know as men, we have to learn how to navigate through that cookie and chip aisle when we have our shopping cart, right? You have to learn how to navigate that. Well, you also have to learn how to navigate your mental shopping cart. To not let those negative thoughts keep on bombarding us, but so you have to take that minute here, another minute here, another minute here. If you start doing that, you may start noticing that, hey, I'm not feeling as cruddy or crummy or self or lacking any kind of value. So you have to pat yourself on the back, and too often we're kicking ourselves in the rear. And this is again what 5 steps is all about. It's just a simple way for us to start tracking: are we doing what we need to be doing? If you're not, you need to start doing it. I mean, I'm the older
Mhm,
guy with younger kids, and so it's been helpful for me just seeing that as my kids, because kids, as I like to say, they get full control of what they feed their mind by the time they start their second decade of life.
mm,
And when you think about that way, oh my gosh, yeah, they have those negative, fearful, nobody likes me, and anybody here in my classroom, they're this or
yeah.
they're that, so it's easy to start having those negative thoughts fill our head when we're little. And I think about just telling my kids when they were 2 years old, jumping into the pool, right? You can do it, you can do it, jump, no, you can jump, no, and so just those just become bigger and bigger and bigger. We put these big up boulders in front of us in our thinking, and little did we know that we created those obstacles in our mind and everything. And so, all we're trying to do is in our walk is, we are what we feed ourselves. You're feeding your body junky food, you can't expect the most out of your body. If you're feeding your mind junky thoughts, negative thoughts, in the same way, if you're not feeding your spirit, and for a lot of people, yeah, if you're not feeding your spirit, how strong can your spirit really be when you need it to be?
That's ironic. I worked for a school district here in Delaware as a behavioral interventionist, and we had the students do a assignment about why they were in school suspension, and the child let me read what she wrote, and she had a phrase in there that says, I realize I'm dumb. I called her over. I says, take that word out. You're not dumb.
Right,
Take that out. Say something else. You're not dumb, because that's the way. But that's the way that child felt, and
right.
I understand that. But we have to. I have to. You got to reavert that thinking, because that's the type of thinking that has somebody not do anything if they feel they're dumb.
And here's kind of what, when I created Five Steps, because this is what we're trying to help, because sometimes people don't realize that. And yeah, habits, or let me just say this, we evolved a lot of people that they're tracking their physical steps for their physical bodies, right? Well, when I created Five Steps, again, the word steps is just an acronym for sleep, think, eat, physical, and spirit. And that, to what you're talking about, did you think better today? You don't have to repeat a magic phrase of confidence a bazillion times. But as we discussed earlier, a minute here telling yourself I can do it, a minute here saying I feel great, another minute here throughout the day, you can be turning the tide from 80-20, 80% of your thoughts being negative and 20 being positive, to maybe
That's right.
78-22. Maybe that's enough to where the water starts flowing, and to fill the mind with the sense of confidence and everything. But this just comes with basic education. Where did they learn that? I mean, I didn't learn any of these principles when I was in school. My mom and dad, bless their hearts, they didn't grow up in that. They didn't have Phil Donahue when my mom and dad were growing up. Probably the same with yours. And so I didn't learn until I got out of college and everything, and realized, hey, I'm competing against these other people. How come I didn't get this job? Okay, now I'm in this job. Oh my God, this is real challenging. I'm realizing the other people around me, they're reading these other self-help books, and using the knowledge that was out there to help them develop the mind. Just like when I was younger, I started developing the body. Well, hey, you can also develop the mind to help it make you bigger, better, bolder. And that's where a lot of people sometimes they use the mind to make them to feel more doomed, dazed, and defeated. And so we get to choose, using your thoughts to make you bigger, better, bolder, healthy, wealthy, and wise, or just doomed, dazed, and defeated.
Well, I tell you what, we're winding down. I'll get to the closing a segment for us. What would you say to the man who feels spiritually tired or mentally overwhelmed and wants change?
Well, change, we talked about acronyms. The acronym for change is creating habits and attitudes now for greater expectations. You don't change to make yourself worse, you change for the better. So create habits and attitudes now. And we talked about habits and attitudes to improve yourself, to make yourself bigger, better, bolder. And that's what Five Steps is all about. As I said, a lot of people use their watches to track their physical activity, but what are we doing to feed our mind? How are we feeding our mind? How are we feeding our spirit? If I can just share, encourage your listeners out there, if they get a chance, check out Five Steps a Day if you're struggling in one of these areas, because I think the good Lord wants us to be strong spiritually, mentally strong, physically. The body is the temple, right? And so what are we doing with our temple? A lot of us are tracking ourselves. They're eating right, they're doing this, but maybe they're not doing much for their spiritual muscles, right? Or maybe they're doing great on their spiritual muscles, but they're not doing a good job on their physical health. So it's about balance out there. And so I just, if your listeners, check out Five Steps a Day. It's just a simple tool to help you track how you're feeding body, mind, and spirit. And what's really unique about it is that when you shade in those footsteps, One day you may shade in 4 steps. One day you may only shade in 1 step. But by the end of the week, you can download on your phone. You can see, hey, I took 28 steps this week. That's good. Last week I took 7 steps. Oh, that's not good. And there's something about visually seeing all the steps, kind of like the footsteps in the sand. When you
Yeah.
see all those steps, it's kind of one of those Pavlov dog things that it just kind of makes you, hey, some other doctors told me it kind of sinks in more because using those kinesthetic and those visual cues to help you change your habits and attitude instead of some of the other tricks that are out there to trying to help you improve your. So being able to visually see your steps, are you doing the things you need to be doing to make yourself healthy, wealthy, and wise, or bigger, better, bolder, as I got it right, as Mookie Betts might say.
Well, as we prepare to close, Dr. Lynn, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us today. Where can our listeners connect with you and learn more about your work?
Thank you so much. I just wanted to say yes, thank you so much, doctor, for letting me come on out here and everything. You can find me anywhere on it's just drlenlopez.com. Some of the social media, that's Dr. Len Lopez. You can also go to 5 Steps a Day. It'll direct you there. If you want to check out the app, there's also a printable calendar. And for those who don't want to use the phone, who are more paper and pencil, there's a calendar and a journal you can download. But for those younger guys that really like the digital stuff and everything, there's the app you can download on Google and the Apple Store.
Well, thank you so much. Well, this has been Kingdom Purpose Media, and with me today has been Dr. Lynn Lopez. He's somebody you need to connect up with. Until we come back at you another time, y'all stay safe, enjoy the rest of your day in the Lord, and allow him to bless you from the abundance of blessing that only he can provide. As you walk in obedience to his will, you'll be blessed like that. And so until we come back at you another time, until you see me again, you need to know I do the thing in the Lord. God bless you all. Take care. Bye-bye.